We are now. Welcome to Sam Roberts Now here on youtube.com/Sam Roberts Now, the only spot to see this show live. If you're not already subscribed to youtube.com/Sam Roberts Now, make sure you are subscribed because we archive all the shows over on the Not Sam YouTube channel. But if you want to hear the show live, if you want to be a part of it, if you want to get in the YouTube chat, if you want to do the whole thing, you got to subscribe to youtube.com/Sam Roberts Now and make sure that your alerts or whatever are on. I don't know 100% how it works. That's why I can't complain about YouTube too much when they do stuff to me. Like when they make it so that I can't broadcast live on the other channel, or they say I have a community rights violation or whatever it is. Like, I want to complain because I didn't do anything, but I don't know 100% how YouTube works. So, you know, once they could go like, well, yeah, you did that, and I'd go, oh, okay. Because the idea that I did it and didn't know that I did it is super possible. So welcome to Sam Roberts Now. I already see you guys filling up the chat, and I appreciate you guys all being here. There is so much going on. It's a big content day in Not Sam world. It was Jim Norton and Sam Roberts this morning on SiriusXM. We had Adam Pally on and talked all kinds of junk that's going on in this world. Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast came out today. I had Brian Koppelman. It's been a big week for the studio, too. It was, last Monday that I had Greg Sestero here from The Room. If you didn't see that interview, it's over at youtube.com/notsam. He was here, I think that was last Monday, on Sam Roberts Now. Then I had Brian Koppelman, who's the creator of Billions. He came here to the Not Sam studio to do Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast. And that went out today because he was a big Bruno Sammartino fan growing up. And, of course, we lost Bruno Sammartino, 7 to 10 days ago. So I thought he'd be a great guest for the podcast, and I was absolutely right. He was. If you want to hear Brian Koppelman, the creator of Billions, he wrote one of the Ocean's movies. He's got a ton of credits. He's a Hollywood big shot now, especially with how good and successful Billions is. I would say check out that interview. It's available now. It's over on the Not Sam YouTube channel. It's also, of course, on the podcast feed. If you just go to notsam.com or you go to Sam Roberts Wrestling Podcast on iTunes or Spotify or any of those. So there's been a ton of content, and of course, all the YouTube channels are getting updated. A ton of content is being pushed out. But the fact of the matter is, the stuff that's going on in the world this week, there's no way that anybody can have time to pump out the amount of content needed to cover it all. It's startling. So it's been a little bit since I did a Sam Roberts Now show, so there was something that I wanted to catch up on since. I already see R.I.P. Avicii. Avicii dies. Avicii dies. He's 28 years old. 1 minute we're all going, wake me up when it's on me. And the next minute they're like, oh yeah, Avicii's dead at 28. One of those things, and you're like, one of what things? Well, there's too many dead celebrities. And there's so much. We went through like 9 celebrity deaths in a row. 3 sets of 3 is what I counted. It might have been more. We are going through Kanye just completely eating up all news coverage of everything. You can't go anywhere without hearing him, which it's such a coincidence that he also just announced his new album is coming out. I can't believe the way the timing worked out, that for a year, nobody had anything to say about Kanye West. He was silent. And then all of a sudden, he's making all the news in the world 3 weeks before his album comes out. That really is, to me, a coincidence. That's just, I guess it's, again, just one of those things. You got James Comey still trying to get some attention for himself. I feel bad for that doofus. Because James Comey puts out this book that he thinks is going to be earth-shattering. It's just another Trump-bashing book that the people who like Trump think that he's a liar, and the people that don't like Trump are like, yeah, we knew he was a douchebag. What else do you got? Every time there's one of these things that they go, oh, this one's going to be earth-shattering. No, it's not. It's either the people who don't like him are like, yeah, that's what I've been saying. And the people that do like him are like, oh, another one of these fake news liars. Nothing gets done. Nothing happens. Comey came across on that interview he did promoting his book like a guy who just wanted to be liked. He took all these meetings alone. Comey trying to get out there. This is why I think that people aren't taking him all that seriously, because Comey is trying to say that Donald Trump acted inappropriately by having private meetings with him when he was the head of the FBI. Okay, a president's not supposed to do that. A president is supposed to allow there to be separation so the FBI can do its job. Okay, I believe you, Comey. How is it not inappropriate for you to do it? Comey's going, the president acted inappropriately by having these meetings with me, with nobody else around. And I'm going, why'd you said yes to all of them. Every dinner invite, I didn't know who else was going to go. Every dinner invite, every phone call, every meeting until he got fired, Comey was right there for. There was none of this like, this is weird what's going on here, until he was fired. And then all these stories come out. So it's like, everybody that wants something to complain about Trump for, first of all, you don't need to buy a book for it. You just check Twitter in the morning. The guy is announcing that he's doing TV interviews with the word enjoy after it. Like, there's plenty, if you want to criticize the guy, there's plenty to criticize him for. But this idea that there's going to be this smoking gun about him, the smoking gun is not going to be in one of these books. There's not this, like, secret. If somebody had a secret that they were waiting to expose to the world that would really just do Trump in, it would have been out there by now. The guy's got nothing but enemies, and they still can't shake him. They can't pin him down to Russia. He went on Fox today, and he said that he spent the night in Russia. And everybody's like, there it is. He said he spent the night. Well, we've all slept in some shady places, right? Who among us hasn't had an evening that they regret? Does that make you unfit to lead the country? I don't know. I guess it could, depending on the evening. But a lot of us just chalk up those regrettable evenings to, all right, learn my lesson, won't do that again. So, I don't even think that's going to be anything. The smoking gun, if something does get Trump, 3 days ago, he's sitting there with the president of France. Not even Paris. Not just the leader of Paris. The whole country. The president of France. The guy who's in charge of that country is sitting there with Donald Trump. And in an effort to prove to the world that he and the guy in charge of France are great friends, he brushes the dude's dandruff off in front of the press. In front of the press. Everybody's there. And Donald Trump brushes this guy's dandruff off his shoulder. Look, we have a great relationship. That's not fake news. We're great friends. Here, look how great friends we are. I'll even brush the dandruff off his shoulder for him. Not, I'll let him brush my dandruff off to kind of put yourself in the self-deprecating area. No. Still alpha male move. I'll brush his dandruff off so everybody can see. And this guy who's in charge of France is just sitting there awkwardly. Because France is like, look, we lost a lot of money in that Freedom Fry debacle. Everybody started slicing their potatoes in the United States. Nobody was going over to France to get us pommes frites anymore. We want to be friends with America. That's what it's one of those things. And Comey was the same way. Like, some of these world leaders, some of these politicians, the idea that the president of the United States wants to be friends with you is still an appealing idea for people that are near it. It's still an appealing thing. To be like, I'm going to be friends with the president of the United States. But that means you got to put up with the fact that you're supposed to be a world leader yourself in charge of France. And you got Donald Trump from Celebrity Apprentice brushing dandruff off your shoulder. That's what you've got to deal with. And by the way, this guy from France, he didn't have an issue with it. He just laughed it off. So, I don't think there's going to be any sort of smoking gun. And I don't think people need to write and buy books about like, here's the real inside story. There is no inside story. He's on Twitter all the time, tweeting whatever he wants. I bet you there's no secrets. This is probably the first administration where there's no weird secrets. Donald Trump is exactly who you think Donald Trump is. And either you like that or you don't like it. But I don't see, what do you think? He's representing himself publicly better than he actually is? He's saying accidentally, in an effort to be sort of diplomatic, he comes across as like people saying he's siding with white supremacists. And you think he's doing stuff behind closed doors that's going to make people go like, oh, that's going to make you look bad. Donald Trump can get away with anything. He's the only president ever. I mean, brushing the dandruff would be a death sentence for any other president. Not literally, but figuratively. It would be political suicide. It would end his career. It's all people would talk about. If any other president ever, if George H.W. Bush, his wife just passed away, we would still be like, oh, Barbara Bush passed away, great leader, matriarch to the Bush family, an icon in American politics, an example of a great first lady. Remember when her husband was president, he brushed dandruff off the leader of France's shoulder. Everywhere. And it would last forever. Now, the fact that it happened on Tuesday, and I'm talking about it on Thursday, has people like, Sam, we got it. We heard. We know what happened. You're not going to expose the guy because he exposes himself. He's exposed himself. He's talking about grabbing pussies. You remember that tape? He said he was I don't want to say. He said he was grabbing pussies. And he still got elected. No problem. You know, he still won the election fair and square. So I don't know what you think you're going to do in any of these like exposés or anything like that. If anything does the guy in finally, it'll be something stupid. It'll be something that leads to something. That's why this Stormy Daniels thing is actually a real story. Because if something comes out, because the problem is he's built enemies, right? So the enemies are not going to find some big secret that he's been hiding from the American people. But his enemies will catch him in a stupid mistake where he forgets to dot an I or cross a T or vice versa. And it makes it so like, okay, that's impeachable. Okay, you can't do that if you're president. And it's not even that bad. It's not like he was grabbing pussies or something. You know, like it's not that bad. But it gets you on a technicality. It's like that professor that they tried to fire at Fresno State, but they couldn't get her. Like, if there was any way to get that woman fired, they would have fired her. This is the woman who, after Barbara Bush died, she called Barbara Bush a racist and, like, you know, kind of celebrated the death. And it was a pretty disgusting set of tweets, if you ask me. But the real issue was that she mentioned her school and the president of the school, or whatever, the dean, I don't know who's in charge of Fresno State, and said, you know, I'm a tenured professor. I can't be fired, and people will always want to hear what I have to say. Well, in that moment, Fresno State wants to get rid of her because she's obnoxious. So I'm sure she's not getting fired. I don't even know if she's getting any discipline. But I'm sure that people went and bent over backwards to try to figure out if they could get her out of this tenured contract, and they couldn't. It's about building enemies. Like on MSNBC, Joy Reid gets into trouble, right? But Joy Reid is following the narrative that is being pushed. Joy Reid is not a villain. She's a good guy, right? She's following the narrative that MSNBC is pushing. So while you probably could dump her, and there are a lot of people who would be dumped, if you brought Joy Reid on to be counter, right? If Joy Reid were like the right-wing representative of MSNBC, she'd be gone. Of course she'd be gone. But she's following the narrative. She's following the story. She hasn't built up enemies inside the place where she works. She hasn't ruffled those feathers. So what are they going to do? Brush this one under the rug. Trump has built some enemies for himself. So he's just got to make sure he can do whatever he wants in terms of public opinion. You know, he doesn't need to worry about a negative headline. But because he's not worried about negative headlines, and he's a troll, he really doesn't care if people like him or not, obviously. I mean, on some level he does, but he would rather be talked about than loved. You know, if being loved means that people are just like, oh yeah, we love the president, and they're moving on to the next thing, no. He'd much rather have television ratings than approval ratings. Those are the numbers that he wants. He wants headlines. He wants people talking about him. It's how he won the election. You know, he didn't have to spend a whole bunch of money because every news show would put him on. Donald Trump, 2 years ago, did interviews on every show imaginable because it was free publicity and they got ratings off of it. They call him the ratings machine. Now, he just does Fox News because Fox News is nice to him. And he doesn't want to do the favor for anybody because why should he? You know? He don't want to have to answer like the tough questions. He wants to be able to be like, okay, these guys are nice to me, and I'll let them know. And I'll rub their back as they rub mine. So that's all that Trump has to worry about, is making sure that all the details are hammered out so that any enemies that he has, they don't add up to it. Now, speaking of Trump, of course, the Kanye tweets are everywhere. Yeah, I mean, that's what notsam Dragon Ball Z says in the YouTube chat right now. Here's the thing about Trump. He loves the shows. He loves the shows. Donald Trump, I mean, if you could take your emotions out of it, you know what I mean? And you got to take your emotions out of all this stuff. Everything you see, like, unless it's a real tragedy, right? If there's action, if there's a real tragedy, if there's a plane crash, if there's a shooting, if there's a death, you know what I mean? If there's real life happening that doesn't have an agenda, that you don't have to attach an agenda to, take that seriously. You know what I mean? React to that as a human being. But everything else that's really just kind of emotional and agenda-based, who cares? Who cares? Enjoy the ride. What are we all doing? What's the difference between sitting there and being entertained by watching everybody go crazy or watching everybody go, or being one of the people that go crazy? Same amount of work is getting done, but it's way less stress on you. Kanye West is driving the world. I think it's the world. Definitely America, because that's where I live. Kanye West is driving the land. Absolutely insane. And the news is not helping, because the news is pushing this forward like, oh my God, what's happened to Kanye West? I swear I heard multiple people today, 24 hours removed from his real tweet storm, from officially like embracing the MAGA lifestyle, make America great again. People were mourning this guy, mourning him as if their favorite artist had passed away. Let me tell you something about music and about entertainment in general. Right? Mel Gibson, let's just start with words. Just words. Because that's all Kanye West is doing right now. It's just words. Mel Gibson, tapes are found of him being as anti-Semitic as anyone has ever been heard being. And you go back and find World War II footage, people are really anti-Semitic. I mean, revolting, disgusting. Mel Gibson proved himself to be a horrendous human being. Slime. A man, quotes, with a heart full of hate. It was anti-Semitic. It was misogynistic. It was violent. Awful. Awful. Just characteristics of a man that you don't want anywhere near your life. Entertaining to listen to if you could take it out of the context of anybody getting hurt, but just awful. We go forward a few years. Daddy's Home 2, a Christmas film, a family comedy starring wacky Will Ferrell, lovable John Lithgow, Mark Wahlberg, the biggest movie star ever, stars Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is now starring in family comedies, and nobody's blinking an eye. The movie didn't do great, but that's more because it was Daddy's Home 2. It was a sequel to a movie that was like, oh, this movie actually did pretty good. And I'll tell you something. I enjoyed Daddy's Home 2. I enjoyed Daddy's Home. Maybe it was because John Cena was in the films. I don't know. But I've got them both in my iTunes collection. I think they're fun films. But my point here is that nobody's sitting there going like, oh no, that's Mel Gibson. There were no protests outside the opening for Daddy's Home 2. There was no outrage. when this film opened. There was no outrage when the home video was released. And Mel Gibson's all over the trailers. Literally, the trailer for the film is Mel Gibson coming down an escalator, a gold light shining behind him, and Will Ferrell saying, "Oh my God, he's beautiful." And nobody's sitting there going like, we have to protest this movie. Instead, the general public is going like, oh, I didn't realize. I guess we're okay with Mel Gibson now. And those are just words, right? Mel Gibson back to making family Christmas comedies. One of the biggest stars in R&B right now is Chris Brown. Chris Brown makes hit single after hit single. Mainstream pop radio loves him. Hip-hop radio loves him. Not only did Chris Brown say some things that weren't all that kind, but he beat up a woman badly. And we saw photos of it. Swollen face, the whole thing. And not only did he beat her up badly, but it wasn't just a stranger that's a woman. It was one of the most beloved female pop stars in the world. Her name's Rihanna, and she's massive on Instagram. He beat her up badly. No, maybe. No, almost. No, well, no. I think he bit her, too. I mean, it was a horror show. And he's making hit records. You know who one of the most beloved musicians of all time is? His name's Michael Jackson. Unfortunately, he's passed away. And the reason I say unfortunately is because all of us would love to listen to a brand new Michael Jackson single. Here's the thing about Michael Jackson. Never confirmed to have done anything sexual with children, but he definitely slept in the same bed as them. He slept in bed with children who weren't his. Definitely. Accused of pedophilia. Accused of giving children alcohol. Accused of all that. Not confirmed, but confirmed to have slept in bed with children. But didn't lose his throne as the king of pop. Still gets to be buried with the crown, and nobody has come forward and replaced Michael Jackson as the king of pop. But somehow, people believe that Kanye West and his tweets supporting Trump and MAGA and everything that's going on with the Trump movement somehow and what's her name, Candace something, who is a female black. They say she's a YouTuber, but she pops up on all these news shows. She was just on Fox News, but she's one of these people who say that like Black Lives Matter people are whining, and black people who are upset about slavery are putting themselves in a position of victimization. I don't agree with her. I don't believe in what she's saying, but Kanye West said, "I like the way that lady thinks." Dead to us, dude. And you thought you were dead to us then? Then you tweeted out a photo of a Make America Great hat. Make America Great Again hat. Dead to us. I mean, people are acting like Kanye will never be able to recover. Now, anti-Semitic misogynist can. Woman beater can. Guy who had shared his bed with children can recover. Just with time. Not too bad at all. But Kanye can't. Kanye, the same guy who made a career out of going into interviews and convincing everybody that he was out of his mind crazy because he's yelling about, whether or not Ralph Lauren is going to let him make pants. He's yelling about making pants. He's interrupting his concerts to do a 45-minute monologue about how he has ideas for making socks. People are like, this guy's nuts. He's lost it. Oh, he's got a new album coming out? Kanye West, the same guy who ruined Taylor Swift's moment. Oh, why did you do this, Kanye? You ruined Taylor Swift's moment. Look at Taylor Swift and Kanye. Well, not the MAGA Kanye. 2 weeks ago, if you were like, look at Taylor Swift and look at Kanye now, the general consensus on Taylor Swift is that people are kind of annoyed by her. Her false humility has caught up with her. And Kanye's assholeness that has been consistent throughout the whole thing is just kind of accepted because the songs are good. People are really quick to say that Kanye can't come back from this, that Kanye is going to lose his audience. And look, This is the worst thing he's done. This is definitely the most angry that he's got people. But he's releasing an album at the end of May. You know, I think that says it all. He's been silent. That's why you haven't heard about him. He wasn't using his Twitter. He wasn't using social media. But now he's got his album ready to come out. It's coming out next month. He's going to come out of hiding. He's going to rile people up again. And just when everybody thinks, I'm done with Kanye, I'm over it, he's against everything that we stand for. Oh, that's a good song. Oh, you hear that new Kanye? Actually pretty good. Dude, Kanye, and look at the subtext of everything. It's amazing, by the way, watching people fall into what he's doing without reading what he's doing. I think I got something. So he's tweeting. Maybe I pulled a couple of the tweets. He's tweeting about how important love is. Love is important. Love is everything. I love everybody. Donald Trump is my brother and I love him. I don't agree with him, but I love him. Then he's tweeting a photo of his text conversation with John Legend. And he goes, John, I love you, but you're trying to put fear into me. And I'm not going to stop saying what I'm saying, but I love you. Ebro from Hot 97 is like, Kanye, you got to stop this. And he's like, I love you, Ebro. He's saying I love you to everybody. And everybody's like, what's Kanye doing? Is he crazy? No, he's branding, stupid. I love you is like the new Pablo. He put Pablo on everything for his last album. I love you. He's branding it. He's branding love. That's what he's doing. He's getting everybody talking and going crazy. And then he's saying, love this, I love that, I love everybody. He's taken the biggest villain that you can find on television, which is our president, and he's saying, I love him. Why? Because that's what the album's going to be about. And then the album's going to come out and he's going to do an interview about it. He already taped one with Charlemagne. And it's going to be like, oh, that's what he meant. Oh, okay, and this song's pretty good. But everybody's taking the bait. Just read into what he's saying. Nobody says sort of this weird I love you thing over and over again without it meaning something. You know? When I say last professional broadcaster, hey, I'm the last professional broadcaster. When I repeat that over and over again, when I repeat what's the haps over and over again, I'm not just doing it because it's top of mind. I'm branding. That's all it is. Kanye West is branding. And he's taking this supervillain, he's getting everybody all riled up, and then he's going to twist it around at the end of it. I mean, this is the one that really got everybody upset. Kanye's hat, which to me, this tweet is hilarious. Kanye is like the biggest fashion guy. Everybody's buying his shoes. You know, he's making a ton of money. Everywhere you go, people are wearing Yeezys and wearing sweatshirts that don't fit very well and pants that cut off at the ankles, and it's all because of Kanye. And he's 40. He's a 40-year-old man. And he tweets out this thing that's a picture of his MAGA hat, and it says, my MAGA hat is signed. Flame, 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 flame. He's talking about how fire his MAGA hat is. This is a guy who works in fashion. That's all. Like last time we talked to him, all he wanted to do was reinvent fashion and work with designers. Now he's using flame emojis to talk about his autographed MAGA hat. You don't think that Kanye West, with his connections, would probably have a pretty easy time securing himself an autographed MAGA hat? You really think that he's reacting like a 10-year-old and being like, I'm so excited, look at my hat? No. No, of course not. He's a 40-year-old man. He's a lunatic. I'm not saying he's not a crazy person. I'm not saying he doesn't believe the stuff that he's saying. I think on some levels, he does agree with Trump. You know, because he thinks Trump is working on a genius level that people just don't get. That's what Kanye thinks, I believe. Because Kanye thinks that he's working on a genius level that people just don't get. People just don't understand Kanye. That's why people hate him so much. They just don't get me, man. They just don't get me. And that's probably the same thing with Trump. Everybody hates Trump like everybody hates me because they just don't get him. We're just a couple of geniuses. Or you're just very hateable. You say things that are really annoying. You bother people. It did lead to some, amazing Donald Trump tweets. Look at that top one. MAGA. Donald Trump quotes Kanye's tweet with all the flames and his MAGA hat sign, and Trump just goes, MAGA! By the way, what is Trump doing? Why did Trump keep saying make America great again? Why does Trump keep saying MAGA? He's branding it. He put it on a hat because he wanted it to be his thing. He's branding it. And that's what Kanye is doing by saying that he loves everybody. It's not real. It's not real life. And look at that second tweet by Trump. I love this one. Kanye says, you don't have to agree with Trump, but the mob can't make me not love him. Again, we go back to the love thing. Love him. We are both dragon energy. He is my brother. I love everybody. And Donald Trump responds, thank you, Kanye. Very cool. Who among us would not think it was very cool if Kanye was like, I love you? I'd be like, cool. It'd be like Wayne's World. I'd be like Garth. The guy from Oz would come up to me and he'd be like, I love you, man. I love you. And I'd be like, Garth. And I'd go, thank you. And it'd be awesome. Very cool. The president. Very cool. I wonder if he went and told like his kids. Ivanka was like, Dad, I'm an adult. I'm not impressed. You're the president. I'm not impressed that Kanye wants to be your friend when he's in, his promotional period for selling albums. I'm actually trying to figure some stuff out here at the White House, but you won't put my husband on security checklists. I don't have time, Ivanka. I got to hear some of this Kanye stuff. So you got both sides of the fence doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. You got all these Kanye people in the media that were Kanye fans crying, bawling their eyes out, upset about everything, emotionally on a different place. I can't believe how horrible this is. I can't believe what this turned into. My Kanye, my sweet, sweet Kanye is gone. This isn't that. This is typical Kanye. What happened to my sweet Kanye? What happened to Kanye? Nothing. He's been doing this from the beginning. But here's the issue. He was targeting like Taylor Swift and stuff. This is the first time an artist has decided to drum up controversy within his own fan base. Usually a guy goes counterculture and like makes it so the old people don't get him. And the young people are like, that's my dude. Now, he's actually just drumming up controversy within his own fan base. And the old people are starting to jump on board. Not the old people who think they're cool. The old people that have been annoyed by Kanye. Because that's what's going on the other side. Scroll through Twitter and look at the people supporting Kanye. Jesse Waters is on Fox News being like, yeah, what Kanye's saying is true. You shouldn't be criticizing Kanye. I love that. People are like, even if they're not saying they love the guy, people are going, you shouldn't be criticizing Kanye. It's hypocritical to criticize Kanye. Everybody that's saying you shouldn't be criticizing Kanye, he has every right to say this. Why don't you think Kanye can support who he wants to support? All of them, every last one, criticized every other thing that Kanye West ever did. They criticized his music. They said he was a monster for the Taylor Swift thing. They talked about how crazy he was for his fashion craziness, whatever. But now that he's going MAGA crazy, all like the MAGA media people are going, Kanye has the right to an opinion, and these people won't let him have it. Why? Well, because he shares my opinion now, and I support that. Like, come on, guys. Are we all that transparent that we're all picking a side where it's either like, I hate Kanye. He's finally crossed the line because he doesn't agree with me. Or, yeah, it's about time somebody like Kanye West stepped forward because he agrees with me. You've all just reversed roles. Everything was cool until he said this, and nothing was cool until he said this. It's crazy behavior that, like, in the coverage of Kanye West, people aren't calling themselves out. Like, you can call Kanye out for the stuff that he's doing and be like, he's crazy, but you can't call yourself out for clearly taking a role. It's like the whole thing is cast. You can't call yourself out for being like, and look, I'm taking the bait. I just wish people would say that. I don't mind that they take the bait, but just announce it. We're not fish. Fish take the bait without ever knowing it. They bite a worm. They see, there's just this worm in the sea. And they're like, I'm a stupid fish. And I'm very hungry because there's no worms underwater. All the worms are in the dirt. There's nobody's, or when they put like raw chicken on a hook and these fish go, oh my God, there's just pieces of chicken just floating in the water. Look, you guys know how much I love chicken nuggets. If I was a fish and I saw some raw chicken just hanging out in the middle of the ocean, I'd be like, oh my God, it is my lucky day. And they go, let me get that. Or they see a worm and it's squiggling. It's a big fat earthworm. And the fish is like, what? I don't have to just suck fungus off a rock for my meal? I can eat that worm? Oh, it's just sitting there waiting for me. Let me go get that worm. I'm gonna eat today. I got my lunch today. I'm gonna, ow! Ow! Oh my God, where am I going? And I can't breathe anymore because now my gills are above water. That's what a fish goes through. That's where the phrase taking the bait comes from. Fish, they have no idea. They see this worm, it's floating around the water, they just grab it. They go for it because they've never seen anything this delicious before. And every time they end up getting the piercing and going for a ride. We are human beings. The reason that human beings are on the top of the food chain, let me wipe off my finger. The reason why human beings are on the top of the food chain is because we figured stuff out. We are smarter than all the other animals. Like, when a gorilla can do some kind of basic sign language, we go, oh my God, this primate is a genius. Why? Because we are so far advanced. So far advanced. That's why we shouldn't be making robots. But that's a conversation for a different time. The reason why humans are at the top of the food chain is because we figured out how to make guns and we figured out how to make houses. Meaning, if we've got a gun, we can kill an animal. If we don't have a gun, we can run into a house and lock the door, and the animal is stuck outside because they haven't figured any of this stuff out. That's what makes us the dominant species. It's our big person brains. Now, because we're people with big person brains, let's use those big person brains and figure out when somebody is dangling a worm in front of us. And I'm not saying Kanye West is this genius, because I don't think that this is well strategized at all. I think Kanye kind of started this thing and he gets manic. I think there's a lot of mania to what's going on with Kanye West. I think he's a little bit of he's a little bit of a promo genius. He's a little bit emotionally stupid and crazy. And so he just goes on these rolls and starts going and going and going. But we as people need to be able to recognize this in other people. We need to take it for what it is from who it is. It's called context. And create that context around it. Instead of just being like, well, Kanye West is, I thought, because his album was called Yeezus, so I thought he was Jesus, which means everything the guy says is as important as anything can be. Instead of being like, oh, this guy who I like his music is being a dick on Twitter again. That's funny. Why can't more people be like the last professional broadcaster, Sam Roberts, who's like, look at everybody running around going crazy. That's hilarious. That's all I'm saying. I don't think there's anything wrong with just sitting back and observing and watching as Kanye goes crazy and everybody goes crazy around him taking the bait. All the people that are saying like, oh, like Kanye, he's this crazy person, aren't acknowledging that they're just as nuts because they're taking every little piece of bait that he drops in the water. And he's done it before. I get if a fish bites on that worm because they've never seen a worm in the ocean before and they're excited. But I have no sympathy for a fish that goes back for a third worm after it's been thrown back twice. You think it's going to be different this time? It's not. We've seen the cycle before. The worm is bigger this time. The bait it's a much bigger chunk of bait. It's got everybody way more pissed off this time. But guess what? He's going to come out. His interview with Charlemagne, mark my words, his interview with Charlemagne's going to come out. They've already taped it. It's going to be like, he's going to explain his love theory. He's going to put down Trump's policies, but say that this is what we should be doing to combat it. We should be combating things with love. That's what I'm doing. And then the album is going to either be called some kind of derivative of love or something like that. Maybe there'll be a cover of the song Power of Love featured on it. I don't know for sure. But you'll realize it's all part of a promotional package, and people will buy into it, and people will go, oh, I was mad before, but I didn't realize that was the context. And that's the way it's going to go. Plus, with all this stuff going on, nobody's even mentioned the most important tweet of all. He puts these little Easter eggs in there. We just take his word for this? Kanye West announces, I'm nice at ping pong. I don't believe you, Kanye. I've never seen Kanye West play ping pong before. How does a guy like Kanye West, who's got so much material out there, he's producing records, he's got hit after hit after hit, he's got album after album after album, and he's got time to master the game of ping pong? It's no easy task. That's what we should be saying. I wish we as people were smart enough to get together, not buy into any of this other nonsense that he's saying, and act like that was the big controversy. All right, Kanye. We see you in your MAGA hat. Let's see you with the ping pong paddle. Put your money where your mouth is. Make him play ping pong. Let's see how nice you are. Let's get some professionals in there. Wouldn't that be great if people were outraged, like ping pong players were outraged? I've been working at this for years. I'm a professional. I'm a champion. And this is what you do? This is what you do, Kanye. You think you can... That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful, Kanye West. I wish. But that's what it is. Ping pong with my ding dong is right. Gruesome fate. Oh, and Louis D. Everybody's going ping pong with the ding dong, ping pong with the ding dong. Yeah, man. It's just, it's amazing to watch. It's amazing to watch the whole thing, and it's dominating the culture. It's dominating, wherever you go. If you're reporting on pop culture, you're talking about it. If you're reporting on news, you're talking about it. If you're reporting on music, you're talking about it. But I really think that this is exactly what's going to happen. So some Ken Bone information broke just as we were about to go live. Ken Bone, of course, you guys remember. I don't have a photo of him ready. You can see I'm typing as we go. I don't have a photo of him ready because literally this just happened. But apparently, Ken Bone's son was suspended from school, and the police are investigating Ken Bone. By the way, this whole idea of Ken Bone not being sure of who he was voting for between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, let's listen to this story. Ken Bone's son was suspended from school, and the police are investigating because he went to the gun range with me, says Ken Bone. So Ken Bone, he posted a picture on his Twitter account. And again, I don't have to, literally as I was going on the air, I was checking my @ mentions, and I got this thing. Ken Bone, you can go to his Twitter account, @KenBone18. He writes, remember this photo from a few days ago? And it's a picture of his son. He's got a big gun in his hand, and he's at a gun range. He's at a firing range. And, he's got a big gun, and he's practicing, and Ken Bone is right behind him. And it says, well, a school administrator saw it, and now my son is suspended from school pending a police investigation. I can't really believe that it was just that got that kid suspended from school. Maybe there's got to be some issue with Ken Bone, because I'm looking at that photo, and no way. It's a kid with his dad, and it's not like an 8-year-old kid. The kid is clearly a high school kid. I don't know how old he is. It's the back of his head. But he's at a gun range with his dad. I mean, if we're going to have gun ranges and kids are going to be allowed in them, and I say kids, I'm like minors, are going to be allowed in them as long as they're accompanied by a parent, then there couldn't possibly be an issue here. I have no idea what the issue is. I don't have any issue with a dad bringing his kid to a gun range. Doesn't bother me in the slightest, especially the fact that the dad was right there. I don't see how anybody, the argument wouldn't hold up with anybody saying that bothered them. That's just ridiculous and silly. I got to believe, and this goes back to the Trump thing we were talking about before, Ken Bone's got to have enemies somewhere. Ken Bone has got to have enemies. I don't know if maybe, because we know from his Reddit history that Ken Bone is a fan of pregnant porn. So I don't know if some guy at his son's school got offended. Maybe Ken Bone was looking at his pregnant wife a certain way. I don't know. Maybe Ken Bone went to his kid's school on parent-teacher night, And he'd call one of the teachers a human submarine because she was pregnant. I don't know. Don't know for sure. But what I do know is the idea that Ken Bone went to a gun range with his kid and now his kid is suspended makes no sense. And I do not believe that that's the beginning, middle, and end of the story. Even if that's the beginning, middle, and end of the story as it's been told to Ken Bone, I don't buy into it. Never. It doesn't make any sense. Ken Bone has made some enemies somewhere. Maybe they think he's Jared Fogle and they're worried about him. Because Ken Bone does look a little like the before picture of Jared Fogle. Now, if that's the case, Ken Bone needs to come forward and say, I'm nothing like Jared Fogle. We don't like the same things, I'll tell you that for sure. And the sandwiches is just the tip of the iceberg, okay? And the best thing that ever happened to Ken Bone was that his Reddit history was exposed to everybody when he did that AMA, and we found out he liked pregnant porn. That's not what Jared Fogle likes. Jared Fogle is a terrible person. Ken Bone just likes to get a little freaky sometimes. I'm not mad at Ken Bone for liking to get a little freaky. In fact, I think it adds a layer of personality. I think it adds some color into his life. A lot more color than that ridiculous red sweater added in. But there is someone, unless there's like details about this thing that we don't know, like his kid did some weird stuff at school or something, or he brought the gun or whatever. If there's no other details to this case than what Ken Bone tweeted out there, Ken Bone has some enemies that are looking to do him in. Who's going to send police to investigate? First of all, I want to know from that tweet, who called the police? Who called the police? Baby Blue 55 says Ken Bone is a romantic. There's something beautiful about a pregnant woman. Look, I thought my wife was pregnant. Well, it was beautiful when she was pregnant. I thought my wife was pregnant. Turned out she was just heavyset. No, I'm kidding. I thought my wife was beautiful when she was pregnant, but a lot of that had to do with the fact that I had impregnated her. This is my child inside of her. I've never been attracted to women who are pregnant by other people's babies. I think that that's a little freaky. It's not my cup of tea. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think it makes you a bad person. I think it's just a little kink. It's definitely some kink. It's not straight up. It's not average. It's not just like, oh, I just like normal stuff. Well, you know, I'm not saying you like weird stuff, but normal stuff is just like guy, girl, missionary, maybe a little doggy every now and then. Pregnant porn? That's a horse of a different color, my friend. That's a little freaky. That's a little kink. Nothing wrong. Everybody should have a little kink. I'm sure if you dug into me, you'd find some kink. But you'd have to really get a shovel out because I'm about as boring as it comes in a lot of aspects of my life. But I enjoy when I'm learning. I'm a curious person. And I like learning about people and finding out that there's a little kink like that. Right? A little kink. No problem. Nick Sal says, Sam, why don't you have Not Sam t-shirts? I haven't gotten them printed, but there are Not Sam t-shirts available at prowrestlingtees.com/Sam Roberts. They don't have the show logo on them. They don't have the logo that's on the front screen right there. They don't have that logo. But there are some available at prowrestlingtees.com/Sam Roberts. So you can see what's there. But, man, I just don't think... I don't think it's just normal. It's interesting, right? It's just an interesting little tidbit, but it could be a whole lot worse. It's definitely not an offense worth locking somebody up over. But I do think that Ken Bone has got some people that have it in for him. Because having police investigate a guy simply because he went to a gun range with his kid is akin to swatting. Like, it's pretty close. And I can't imagine... I mean, I guess the police have to investigate it because family stuff gets so weird. But I feel like if you call the police and that was your thing, you should be arrested for wasting officers' time. Because there's nothing to it. Unless there's something to it, and we don't know all the details yet. But that's just what I saw, like, as we were starting and things were picking up. Speaking of jail time, Cosby found guilty. Cosby, now, he was found guilty of sexual assault, 3 counts of it. 3 of the women, we saw that magazine cover with 150 women or whatever. 3 of them have guilty verdicts. I think there are still more trials to be had. Maybe. Or maybe the statute of limitations, or maybe they can't, there's not enough evidence. I don't know. But I know that this trial, this was the one that was declared a mistrial. Excuse me. I belched. This was the one that was declared a mistrial. And then everybody kind of got worried about it and said, like, oh, man, is Cosby going to get away with it? No. No. Cosby is not going to get away with it because he's found guilty. Trial restarted. They went back through it. The jury went away. It was like the OJ jury. They went away for like hours, not days, hours. I think it was like 14 hours they deliberated, something like that. It was a little longer than the OJ trial, but not much. They didn't need a week, that's for sure. Hope that that defense attorney, I hope he wasn't putting on his Hawaiian shirt like John Travolta was on the OJ show, because he had to go right back into the courtroom, and it was found that Cosby is guilty. It really makes me happy to see Cosby guilty. Now, I mean, the punishment isn't as severe as it should be for somebody that did what he's done. It's 3 counts. There's a fine up to. We don't know what the sentencing is yet. Sentencing has not yet gone down. But from the article that I read, they said the maximum sentence was $25,000 per offense, which is $75,000 total, which, you know, Cosby shits $75,000. There's probably $75,000 in cash in his sock. That's not an issue. And 10 years in jail. Now, Cosby deserves much more than 10 years in jail. But I don't think you need more than 10 years in jail. Cosby's 80 and blind. I hope he does get the full 10 years, because I love the idea of somebody who's as big of a scumbag as Bill Cosby was. Bill Cosby lived a lie for a very long time and had the world convinced that he was something that he is not. And I love that life is long. This is the lesson here. It's the same thing with this Golden State Killer who got caught yesterday after 30 years of nobody finding him. And wait till you find out about this Golden State Killer. But I just love that life is long and you think you've gotten away with it, but the chickens always come home to roost. Some people think, oh, you know, good things happen to bad people and blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, man, in my 34 years, and maybe I don't have all the life experience in the world, but as I've gotten older, I've come to believe far, far, far more that people get what they deserve. Bad things happen. People get what they deserve eventually. Now, Bill Cosby, of course, he deserved to go to jail a long time ago and maybe spend his whole life in there. You know, he could have gone to jail after he did it the first time and not victimize all these other poor women that he victimized. But the optimist in me is sitting there going, at least Bill Cosby is going to end his life there. And I mean, you talk about a low. The universe allowed Bill Cosby to be on this massive high, biggest TV show in the world, Jell-O pudding commercials. And now, after being at the top of the top, he's got to be at the bottom of the bottom. He's going to jail, and he's going to live the remainder of his life in there. He's going to die in jail. This is a guy who was convinced he'd have the good life forever, and he's dying in jail. Amazing. I love that story because he should be doing that. And it's almost, for me, poetic that all this good stuff was able to happen because it makes his final years in jail that much worse, because he knows how good it could be. He's going to be sitting there in jail thinking about how good and comfortable the end of his life could be. You work and you work and you work, and you just hope that when it's time to go, dying has got to be the most uncomfortable thing you could possibly do. You just hope you make enough money that you make that process as comfortable and as comfortable as possible for you and as easy as possible for the people around you. That's all you can want as a human being. If you don't want that, you're a bad person. Bill Cosby is going to have, first of all, it's going to torture anybody that supported him. That wife of his who stayed by his side the whole time, well, guess what? She's going to be saying her final goodbyes through a glass plate, if he can even get visitors. And Bill will probably die in the most uncomfortable way you can possibly die. In jail with a sore hiney. You know? And he deserves it. And it's great. And I think it's good. Notsam SD Mark says he's ODing before Monday. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Could be ODing. I mean, what else has he got to do? I'm surprised that he made it this long. I honestly think that Bill Cosby was just trying to extend this trial as long as humanly possible to hope that he died before he was found guilty. Because at this point, he's just riding out the clock. And guess what? Guess where the last lap is going to be? In jail. Unless he kills himself. He might. He's probably going to try to do some kind of medical thing. You know, he's going to come up with some kind of thing that he needs to be in the doctor's care for to see if he can spend the remainder of his day in a hospital. But man, sometimes this country is too nice. If I'm a judge, there's no way you can convince me to put Bill Cosby in medical care for the remainder of his days. No way. No way. Sorry, bud. Bye-bye. Tough titties for you. It's going to be a long, painful last lap. That's if it's up to me. Gruesome Fate says a federal resort. WWE Front Row says they may cite his medical needs as a reason to stick with house arrest. Dude, and T1 says he's too old for county. That's the problem. You guys are probably all right. That's the issue. You sit there and you're like, here's exactly the way it should happen. I'm getting all excited. You guys might be right. That they're just going to let him kind of gloss over this. That they're going to give him either house arrest or, hospital care or something like that. They should, at some point, Bill Cosby has had it great for many, many years. I don't see the problem with cutting him off from medication and just letting him rot in a cell. Literally rot in a cell. Put him in county. Let him rot in a cell. If he's in county, he'll last 2 weeks. Won't be anybody's problem. We don't have to figure it out at all. Oh, it's cruel and inhumane. Yeah, that's right. You'd never want to do anything cruel or inhumane to a guy like Bill Cosby, who's just been a peach. If you don't act like a human being, I don't know why we should be expected to treat you like a human being. That's all. Is that crazy? Is that mean? It's not right. It's not right. While we still, it says, Daniel says, have you seen the video of Vince and the D-Boys? I'm assuming that's Dudley Boys. I don't know. Having dinner in Saudi Arabia. No, I'm looking forward to tomorrow because it's WWE. Yeah, like Jimmy Snuka. Everybody's bringing up like the Superfly Jimmy Snuka. Yeah, he came up with a medical ailment and he got out of his murder trial. He wasn't even found guilty. He got out of the trial because of his stomach cancer, and he didn't last long after that. But the fact that Bill Cosby didn't get out of the trial and he was actually found guilty is even more reason to be like, no. Screw all that. You got your mistrial. You extended it as long as you could. Enough extensions. Let's just do it. Tomorrow's the big Saudi Arabia show for WWE. I'm very, very excited about it. I'm going to come home and watch it. Vince and the boys, Undertaker and Brock side by side eating LMAO. Oh, I saw photos of Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker, and Kurt Angle at dinner together eating. And all I thought was like what I wouldn't give to just be sitting there eating. You might actually catch me eating something besides fried chicken if it could be with Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, and The Undertaker at dinner. It looked amazing. Before I go, I do want to talk to you about something. On the last show that we did together, the last solo show, not the Greg Sestero show, I talked about Art Bell dying and how I really liked Art Bell and what he did. I wasn't like an Art Bell super fan. I wouldn't call him like one of the top influences in my broadcasting career. But as I said, I picked up his connection with the audience is what hit me when I would listen to him. The connection that he had with the audience. And if I could install some phones down here, and at some point I will, I just have to figure out the technology and get some time. I'd like to build that connection with you guys doing this as well. But I do this monologue about Art Bell. And a lot of people were like, oh man, I got text, like X-Pac texted me he's like, oh, I'm glad you said that stuff about Art Bell. It was good to hear. You know, and I was like, cool. Like, I was actually happy with myself after we talked about Art Bell. And then I look at my Not Sam YouTube channel, and there's like 20,000 views on the Sam Roberts Now show or something like that. And I thought it was people that were mad, like Alex Jones people, that were mad because I was making fun of Alex Jones for crying about Donald Trump. But it was Art Bell people, and they were pissed at me. I was going through YouTube comments, and these Art Bell people, after I thought I had just said nice things about Art Bell, were pissed at me. It was so weird. I had no idea. Listen to some of these comments. One person writes, are you kidding me? And go back and watch this thing. You can see the video here on this YouTube channel, Sam Roberts Now. It's snipped out. It's just, R.I.P. Art Bell. Or if you want to watch the whole show from a little while ago, like, I don't know, 10 days ago, you can go to youtube.com/notsam and just go to the Sam Roberts Now playlist. All the full shows are right there. So, this one person says, are you kidding me? Jealous much? He had an amazing, devoted fan base who consider themselves normal. You, on the other hand, sound very bitter. You will never make it. Lady, I've made it. What are you talking about? But people got upset because I said, like, the people who listen to Art Bell were, like, lunatics and, like, druggies and stuff that were up all night. I didn't mean his entire audience were lunatics and druggies. I wasn't talking about every single person that listened to the show. People are so sensitive. I could not believe that that's what people drew from that show. Obviously, I listened to the show. I'm not describing myself. I'm describing like there'd be wacky callers calling in. And you'd get to it. I did a night show. I was talking about the people that would call into my show. By the way, the people who called into my show are still in this YouTube chat. And none of them were offended. None of them. You know? Not Sam SD Mark. That was Mark from San Diego. Miguel from Los Angeles. The Possum King. Jed from PA was his name. Not Sam Fanfuck. Not Sam Cuddly Bear. All the regulars. I'm missing a bunch, I'm sure. But, like, I'm not talking about everybody that's ever listened to the show. I'm talking about the fact that I liked it when crazy people called in. That's it. But people got to say, Not Sam Dapper Dan says, I was not offended. Yeah, of course not. Chris the teacher says, Not Sam Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, the Not Samsonites. The Not Samsonites. I don't think all the Not Samsonites are a bunch of lunatics and drugged out people. I love the Not Samsonites. I actually have met them in person. You know? I'll talk to them on DM. Some of them. Not all of them. Don't get jealous if I haven't talked to you. But, I love them. You know? They're the real deal. So, whatever. I mean, I wasn't... the guy who defended Jared Fogle was one of the people that called in to the Sam Roberts show when I was doing it at night. And I loved him. He was out of his mind. It's the craziest thing you ever heard on the radio. I need to find it. I need to find those old shows because it was the craziest... I mean, it was the craziest thing I'd ever heard. I didn't understand the conversation that I was in. What about that guy who called in? You guys remember there was a guy that called in and used to brag all at Stewart in Tulsa, who used to like call in and brag, like humble. All he would do is humble brag, and he would never fess up to doing it. He would get so pissed because we'd call him out for humble bragging all the time. I loved that guy. I loved everybody that called the show. I love people that stay up all night. I'm one of them. Those are my people. I don't think you're all on drugs and crazy. I was just speaking colloquially. All day, every day. White Supremacy Ken. I love White Supremacy Ken. It's this lunatic guy who accused me and everybody else of being racist. Hilarious. Let's see. Yeah, Nick Sal says, Sam, anyone who gets offended at anything you do is a pube who deserves to die. Okay, that's harsh. John says, Sam, the one thing you're missing here is no phone screener. But yeah, no, that's great. That wasn't a criticism. That was just... one person says, I worked a graveyard shift 6 or 7 nights a week, and I know people who have done it for 20 years. These people bust their ass. Not everyone gets to be a radio show host for a living. Fuck you, Sam Roberts. I'm not talking about the people who work the graveyard shift. I couldn't possibly have more respect for people who work regular jobs. I've never listened to a radio show when I was working regular jobs before radio. I would never get offended when people on the radio were like talking about their jobs and go like, oh, well, what I do is hard too. I know that. Of course, what you do is hard. Look, the hard part about radio is figuring out a way to get paid to talk. The talking part is easy. Figuring out how to get somebody to pay you to do it is hard. If all of it was easy, everybody would do it because everybody can talk. Broadcasting, all you guys could do it. Finding a way to get paid to do it is the tough part. Once you find a way to get paid to do it, then it's easy. Then everything else is easy. Except you have to keep finding new ways to get paid to do it. One guy says, thanks for this is all from my YouTube comments. One guy says, thanks for stereotyping us, Sam. Not the first thing I wanted to hear in reference to Art passing. Most people up at night listening to Coast had a reason they were up at that time. Like you had when you caught the show. Not everyone in a given society had the luxury of sleeping at night. And some of us even prefer the night. In some cases while on drugs, but mostly not. Dude. If, like, people who stay up all night are considering themselves, like, a discriminated against group, like, what are we doing? One person says, not many people knew Art Bell. What glue do you sniff? In your wildest drug-soaked hallucinations, you can't hope to ever be as known as Art Bell. His numbers in radio are legendary, in the millions. You just took a piss on Mount Rushmore, action doll toy boy. That's really what it says. Go find a real job, loser. First of all, no way. Second of all, I wasn't saying that he wasn't famous. I was saying that more people should be talking about him. It was a compliment. Why are you so angry? Why are people so upset? And then this was my favorite one, because I said Art Bell was like 86. I don't know. I'd obviously just, something in my brain had just crossed one article with another one. This guy says, 86? You idiot. That is so disrespectful. Art was 73 years old. The reason why I like that one so much is because Art was 72. You idiot. Art Bell was 72 years old. So, to all the Art Bell fans that I offended greatly by trying to pay some respect to him on his way out, I humbly apologize. When I said that he was influential and one of a kind and deserved to be recognized more and had an amazing loyal audience and taught me lessons about how to connect with an audience, that you're right. That was way out of line, and clearly I will never hope to make it. I will never make it. I will never be a broadcaster. I will never have a successful YouTube channel. Please ignore the plaque behind me. I will certainly never. Here's the thing. I'm never going to be the last professional broadcaster who, honestly, at this point, should write a book about how people can live their dreams. No, that's not me. That's not me. No, you're right. I humbly apologize to everyone that I offended with my grossly misinformed and highly trivializing Art Bell tribute. I mean, just disgusting. And you're right, and I watched it back, and it was just horrible and disgusting. Why do people take anything I say seriously? It boggles my mind. All I do is come on here and take the piss out of stuff. You don't need to take my stuff seriously. Most of the time, I'm joking around about everything. Don't take anything I say seriously. I'm goofing on everything. Whether it's like clearly a sarcastic joke or it's several layers deep and I'm just saying it to say it. Don't take my stuff seriously. It's entertainment. Just have a good time with it. I'm trying to take news stories and just kind of have a good time with them so we don't have to be worried about everything. That's all. That's all my mission is. That's all we do here on Sam Roberts Now. That's it. Thank you guys for checking out the YouTube channel today. Sam, you are the last professional broadcaster, and you are the American Dream Kid. Thank you, Nick. I love that Not Sam Dragon Ball Z is still bringing up moments from the night show, the hot dog phone saga. Yeah, I'll find all those old night shows for you guys and put them up. DJ Infinite Kitten always brought the fire, says Dapper Dan. We got to do something else at nights at some point. We got to get back on the radio. Yeah. All right, guys. Look, we can't sit in there. I see you, Cyan Z. I know what you're up to. I see you. I respect anybody who's on their YouTube hustle, okay? I don't care what you, I don't care if, honestly, if you run a YouTube channel that's all gossip about like me and the people that I work with, I think it's cool. I don't have a ton negative, like, it's amusing. Look, I'll be honest, Cyan Z. I see you in my YouTube chats all the time. I love that you show up. I don't watch every single thing that you do, but I am aware of what you're doing, and I think it's great. So, oh, geez. It says don't give him attention. Okay, I'm sorry, Miguel. All right, I won't give him attention again. I won't. All right. I won't do it again, guys. That was the one Cyan Z shout out, and I won't do it again. I won't. I promise you guys. That's his only shout out, and I won't do it again. He's saying fuck you. All right. I didn't mean to create a monster. I'll say this. You don't have any reason to catch ego over that. Okay? Still, don't catch an ego. You're still, whatever people make fun of you for, it's all true. It's all true. If you're, whatever. If you don't sound good or you're still, I think you pissed in your laundry room at one point. Yeah, all that. Yeah, okay. I shouldn't give you more attention. All right, no more attention. All right, guys. I'll see all of you. All of you. Everything they say about you is true, Science. All the negative things. It's all true. I'll see all of you again when Sam Roberts Now. So I think we'll be live tomorrow, but it'll be a wrestling show. It won't be a Sam Roberts Now show. I'll probably do like a post show maybe for the Greatest Royal Rumble show. So if you're a wrestling fan, you can check that out. That might be on Facebook and then on the Not Sam YouTube channel later. And then I may have another guest this weekend. I don't know for sure. We'll see. I don't know if we'll have time. I appreciate all you guys. Remember, you got 5 styluses. You might as well use them. And, like, everybody relax. Like, just have a good time, okay? Don't make fun of people. Don't try to ruin people. Just have fun with stuff, okay? Have a good time. Let everybody else have a good time. You'd be amazed. There's a lot of positive energy that can go around. A lot of positive energy. And I'm going to tell you something. I started removing a lot of negative energy maybe 2.5 years. No, way more than 2.5 years ago, I guess. Maybe 3.5 years ago at this point. Changed my entire life. Literally changed my entire life. Don't sit there like, to goof on this, to goof on that, no problem. Don't try to don't spend your life trying to ruin things. Create, have fun, enjoy, embrace. That's the secret. Embrace things, okay? Embrace the things that you like. And hold them tight and squeeze them until there's nothing left of them. Crush them hard. All right, guys. 5 styluses. Use them all. We'll see you next time. Have a good night.